In today's episode of the Strong Collector Podcast, Jordan and I are going to be talking about the potential of the new HasLab coming out. So we know it's going to be Avengers themed, but what's it going to be? Hello and welcome back to the Strong Collectors Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota, here with my co-host, Jordan. And like I said in the intro, we know that an Avengers HasLab is imminent, but we don't know what it is yet. So thought it'd be fun to do a little speculation. And before we speculate, though, we got to make sure that we're liking, sharing, and subscribing.
That's right.
We've done our giveaway for the 100th episode, but we are going to be doing a giveaway at 500 subscribers. So as of the recording of this, we're about 25 subscribers away. So we're getting close. So make sure you're subscribed so you can be entered to win. That's all you have to do is subscribe for this 500 giveaway. We don't know what the giveaway... Well, I know what the giveaway is, but we haven't announced what the giveaway is yet. So a little surprise for you later on.
Stay
Now,
tuned.
Jordan.
Yes.
We know it's a Avengers HasLab.
Right.
I think the general consensus among collectors, and I am one of them, is that it's probably going to be a giant man. Well, let's put that off, let's put that on the shelf for a second.
So
and
we're operating as if it is not Giant Man.
At least to start. I think we can come back to Giant Man and speculate that, but I think that's just kind of like old news.
Low-hanging fruit is
right.
Giant Man.
Yes. So I would like to muse past Giant Man for just a moment, and then we can always bring it back to because I do think it is going to be Giant Man, but I think the second most likely option, people are expecting a Quinjet.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's a Quinjet, because I don't want a Quinjet, and I don't want to be spending the money on a HasLab. So if it were a Quinjet, Jordan,
right?
What do you expect for tiers? Because I would expect you'd be able to fit at least 4 of your Avengers in there, maybe on the similar scale as what the Batwing is from McFarlane right now. Obviously, McFarlane's has much more just empty wing space, but you'd probably shorten the wings out, build out the body.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess as far as characters go, I feel like the ones that I would think of would be almost disappointing to get in a HasLab, just because do you need another Captain America to go with that? Right. Do you need they're having the Hawkeye with a Sky Cycle, so you don't really. I don't know though. I guess you could have a landing pad or something, some kind of almost like a display thing / thing to put it on or something.
Yeah. I was thinking.
I don't know. Do you have any in mind?
I was thinking you could add in a comic Jarvis.
Oh, okay, yeah, Jarvis would be cool.
Give him a vacuum cleaner and because he's not one that we've ever had before, but I think he's one that people would enjoy having. And I could see a lot of ACBA type people making some really good photos with him. Not necessarily to go with a Quinjet, but it's just kind of one of those Avengers things that would be a nice tier to have.
Yeah, that would be cool. And then it would also make sense because to me, to make Jarvis more of a specialty item, not just throwing him out in a wave.
Right.
I feel if he was just in a wave, it could go either way in stores. But if he's part of the HasLab, that will make a lot of people probably.
Yes, because that's where your diehard collectors are going to be, and it's going to be the diehards that want, because the kid walking down the toy aisle is not going to be oh, mommy, I want that Butler action figure. Understandable, but
speak for yourself, man. I had I army built Butlers as a kid.
So, and he could even double as I'm sure people would do a custom head sculpt and make an Alfred too. So,
I was just thinking custom Alfred.
So, that would be kind of what I would expect as a tier for that. But then I agree, outside of that, then it's kind of you're getting into the boring Avengers that are just kind of classic. I know a lot of people want a Moondragon. I don't think that's going to happen.
I guess for me, I think the problem is a Quinjet just would not really excite me.
No, it
or
wouldn't
interest
either.
me.
But that's why that's my hope, is that it's a Quinjet, so I can just easily pass on it and not have to think about it. Is there any other, outside of a Quinjet, Avengers themed item that you could
Outside of
expect?
Quinjet and Goliath, right?
Yeah,
Or Giant Man.
right.
I guess you could have a Goliath, technically, if it wasn't a Goliath, but no.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you'd have to go MCU here.
okay.
But I think if they did one of those, like, what is it, the Chitauri, like, dragon things that are, like, flying around New
The
York,
Leviathan?
that would be kind of cool. And then you could give some, like, I don't know, because you wouldn't want to necessarily do, like, just a typical, like, foot soldier, because I would hope that they would put that out as, like, an army builder or something that you could get more than just one in your, like, HasLab.
Yeah.
So maybe they would do, like, one of those, like, flying, like, hovercraft things that they use as a tier. But even that seems like they're giving you, like, a giant thing plus a vehicle. So that seems a little bit, bit of a stretch.
I mean, and then I guess as far as, like, say it's a being, right? Like a person. Are we thinking it's going to be in the, like, Galactus scale? Or at least Sentinel scale? Or
Yeah,
could it be smaller? You know, like, because technically the Engine of Vengeance, it was big, but it was smaller, right?
Right, for sure.
Those, but
so I think so we can get into
the other question.
We can get into Giant Man now. If it was Giant Man, I would hope that he is at most the size of a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I would be much happier if he was smaller. But then I guess it's going to come down to price, and they're going to be like, oh, it's the same price as your giant Galactus because of inflation and whatever they're going to say. So, like,
might as well.
it really wouldn't matter what the HasLab was. If it's $500, I'm not buying it. It could be, like, the thing I want most in the world. But, like,
but I don't even know what is that for a HasLab at this point.
Right. Like, I have Galactus, and, like, really that's, like, the biggest character I need. I don't need anything else that big.
Well, I mean, people could be like, oh, you could do a Celestial or what was the other one that people were talking about? Eternity or the Beyonder, but it's like, I just don't see them putting that, especially after the Engine of Vengeance. Like, I don't see them taking a risk on something that, because Sentinel and Galactus are just no-brainers for giant figures.
Mm-hmm.
But after Engine of Vengeance, I don't see them going with a deep cut like a Celestial or something.
And I will be curious to see what, like, the failure of Engine of Vengeance, if that will swing HasLabs back to being more valuable, because, like, when Sentinels came out, they, like, shot up super expensive, which I think led to a lot of sales of Galactus, because people were like, oh, like, the Sentinel did so well, if I buy an extra one or two Galactuses, then I can sell them, and then I get my Galactus for free. And Galactus is pretty much selling for retail just a little bit more. So I think that probably led people to be like, oh, okay, this isn't even a good investment piece. Like, they would just buy one if they even wanted it. But then that Hasbro was expecting, they just expect, like, a line to go up where it's like, oh, Sentinel sold this much, Galactus sold this much. Obviously, the next thing is going to be here, but now that it swings back down,
maybe
I'll be curious to see what happens. Yeah, so
I do think it's going to be Giant Man. Reading the markets. We're gonna have an episode on stocks and toys next.
You're gonna have the whiteboard, like, whatever that guy was.
The Charlie Day from the It's Always Sunny when he's got strings.
Yeah.
You need to go stock up. On the MCU Red Skull.
Yeah, exactly.
Howard the Duck is
going to explode. He won't be able to find Howard the Duck in a year. So.
You just...
All right. What is your thoughts on tiers for Giant Man? Because I think that's a little bit easier to think of tiers for a Giant Man. I still think that
I mean, you could have
Jarvis as a tier for him. I think that would still work.
I know they had that Marvel Universe, the Goliath, Bill Foster.
Yeah.
And I think I've sold one of those before, and he went for, like, close to 100 almost. So, I mean, he was I
Nice.
don't know. I don't know what he's doing now, but I mean, I do think people would be interested in that,
Mm-hmm.
like just as a like part of the Aunt Hank Pym family. I guess
Right.
you could make him like a little shorter,
Mm-hmm.
like because you probably
Put him in like
obviously
that
wouldn't
12
get
inch
too
scale.
right,
Yeah.
like yeah, kind of like the Super Adaptoid.
Yep.
Um, trying to think.
I mean, I think you could do like a scientist Hank Pym.
Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of one of those like kind of like we said with Jarvis, it's like, yeah, it probably wouldn't be super exciting in a wave, but it makes sense in the like same box as your Giant Man.
yeah,
Where like I still wouldn't be super excited to be like, oh yes, a Hank Pym, but you know, I'd be like, ah, that makes sense. It's that guy, just different size. So
yeah.
I feel like you could get the small versions of like Ant Man and the Wasp if they were more articulated, like the Toy Biz ones. Because we don't like there are the like little statue type Ant Man and the
Mm-hmm.
Wasp that came with the retros, but it would be nice to have like smaller versions that you actually could articulate.
Yeah, like you could do an like evolution of the character with like
Mm-hmm.
three different
Right. But
types
we
or
do
something.
have like the astonishing Ant Man, that future Ant Man. They've never done the irredeemable Ant Man, so
It's
maybe
true.
that could be a. I mean, I think that would sell well just as its own like figure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if they would do that as a HasLab tier, but I think it would make sense, and I like that character, so it could make sense.
I was trying to think of how I could thread Ultron in there.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
thinking
I
that
know.
too.
You could do the first appearance Ultron. Do you remember when he's just a big cylinder
Oh yeah,
with like little tiny arms or something?
yeah,
That would be a kind of cool add-on.
that would be. I feel like that would have to be like an accessory with Hank Pym or something though. Like, would you make that its own tier?
I mean, I guess it depends on like if they win, if it's just like a little dinky thing, but if they
Mm-hmm.
kind of like invested and made it, because I think in the comics it's like
Oh, is
this
it big?
huge.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's taller than a person, I think. So
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe you can throw up a picture of that
yeah.
first
I'll see if
appearance
I can find
thing,
one.
but it's that could be kind of funny. But just since Hank Pym obviously
Right.
creates Ultron, so that'd be interesting. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously you have the Ant Man, Giant Man variants. You could
Mm-hmm.
pick any one of those.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of trying to
But
think of. Like, is there like an Ant Man?
Yellow Jacket,
Yeah, that's true. Hasbro has not done a Yellow Jack, but then again, I feel like that's along the lines of like it would sell too well as its own figure. That like would
yeah,
Hasbro lock it behind something that may not even be made, and then they'd lose out on that money? I don't know, because I would like a new Yellow Jacket, but I don't know that I want to buy a HasLab for it. So that's kind
and
of
then tier number
scary.
3, Mephisto.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh man.
They just try to slide that in there.
Oh, that would be
Wait a
good.
minute. What does he have to do? Just unlock it.
You want Mephisto, don't you? You're gonna have to buy the HasLab if you want Mephisto.
And they just don't get the memo, and they just put Ant or Giant Man in a skimpy outfit. And then
There
they're
you
like,
go.
"Wait a minute,
A
I thought
little
that's
bit of
what you
underboob.
guys. I thought that's what you guys wanted."
Oh, that'd be funny.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. When do we think? I'll do a speculation on this. When will we know? Like, do you think it'll be a fall campaign
Mm.
then, or do you think it'll be?
I mean, it was fall last year, right? Because it came out. They announced the HasLab. At least the first, like the base
Mm-hmm.
level, was on Halloween, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was Halloween that it came out. Um,
So,
so I would expect before that. I don't think they would wait a full calendar year.
mm-hmm.
Like if they had actually made it, then
Yeah,
possibly. But since they didn't make it, I feel like they're kind of like gonna bump it up a little bit to
yeah.
try again, because all of us collectors didn't spend our money on that, so we've got more money to burn, probably in their eyes. So I'm gonna guess late summer.
Yeah, that's
I
kind
would
of what
think
I
we'd
was
know
thinking
before
too.
September.
Yeah, especially with the speed at which they've been going through the 60th Avengers
Right.
things. I thought, or not. Is it 80? No. What are they calling it?
I don't even know.
I just feel like there's so many like Avengers
Numbers.
comics celebrate like what?
Right.
I don't know. Whatever.
Captain
Whatever
America
they're doing
80th,
for the Avengers.
Hulk 20th. So.
Yeah, don't get me started on the renumberings. That's it's a whole nother thing. I'm still just trying to think if there's any other characters because I feel like I'm afraid somebody will comment something and be like, "Duh, this one." And I'll be like, "Dang it! I wish I would have thought of that."
Yeah. But, I mean, there is like a ton. Like Wasp wears like a different costume in like every issue. It seems like so you could do like a variant of her.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's big characters that you could like the different versions of Giant Man. I feel like they would go with like the classic like white antenna Ant-Man, blue boxers type of look, kind of like the Toy Biz one was.
Yeah.
At least that's what I mean. Maybe I hope they don't, just because that's the one I would want. So if they do like the gold goggles, more blue and gold costume, I would easily pass on that.
Yeah, me too.
But
something tells, I don't know. Some part of me is like, I mean, they have to know if they made a classic looking. It to me, it just makes way too much sense for them to not just say, "Hey, here's a giant classic,
right,
Giant Man," because I don't know. I mean, even that Toy Biz one still looks really good.
Yeah,
like I would be very curious to see that with today's technology.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I'm honestly just disappointed that it seems like they're gonna do a Giant Man, because I would love to just have him in the like super adaptoid scale, where it's like he's 12 inches tall.
I feel like that's just too.
It's twice as big as your other characters.
No, I'm just saying for them, it's going to be like this makes too much sense monetarily to make him a 12-inch.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
so like it is going to be a HasLab, and we're going to have to pay. Hopefully not more than $450 for it. I don't know that I would. Like it's going to have to
for me to scoop up the rest of the pieces to my Giant Man.
That's true. Like it is going to really depend on how this looks and what the tiers are, and like I just really hope that Hasbro kind of has like the idea of like, okay, we don't just have these collectors buy the balls. Like they will not buy it if it's not good. So yeah. I think they got way too cocky on that Engine of Vengeance, where they had to they're like, tier 1 is Mephisto. Just kidding, he's tier 3, and we're gonna drop it way down to make it seem like we knew what we were doing.
I forgot how much of a fiasco that was.
That was.
It was really fun to watch though.
The early bird Robbie Reyes, just like not even close to happening.
We would just wait for those to happen, then be like, "Oh, new episode!" Just kept making content for us.
Yeah. So yeah, I really do hope that it's more successful than last year, because last year seemed like Hasbro was just taking a deuce on the community.
Yeah, it was kind of sad.
Because like the Engine of Vengeance was cool enough, and like I do wish it had gotten made, but like the price was nuts, the tiers sucked, the rollout was whack. So I hope they do a better job with Giant Man. I hope they learned. I'm not gonna hold my breath, but I'm more scared of the price, because like I'm pretty sure, I can't remember whether it was Dan or Ryan or Dwight that was like doing a podcast, and they were like, oh no, if we did Galactus now the same way we did him then, where he was $400 plus, like I think he was like 420, like with taxes and whatever, now he would be over 500. And I'm like, I would not have bought Galactus for 500. Like that's just too steep.
Yeah,
that's an entire wave of like Mythic Legions. So easy pass. I don't know.
Or 2,000 gumballs.
That's true.
When you put it that way, I'm not spending another $1.
I'm burying myself in gumballs. Are you telling me I could fill this entire room with gumballs for only $500? I'll be right back. All right. I don't think I have any more ideas for this HasLab.
Just imagining the next episode, instead of toys, it's just all gumballs.
I'm just laying in a
Jordan,
bed of
I'm starting a
gumballs.
new podcast. Yeah, oh boy. Too funny. Yeah, we'll have to see. I would say your summer timeline is probably accurate. They'd probably want to get that going sooner rather than later, I think.
And they don't have any HasLabs currently running right now, so that
No.
seems like I don't know. I don't work for Hasbro, and I don't understand how anybody there is making timelines, because it seems like when they had the Engine of Vengeance, there was like 4 HasLabs running, and now we have none. So like, why did you not
The
space this
scheduler
stuff
comes
out?
back. He's like, "What? What happened?"
We were supposed to go one and then the other and then the other, and you just did them all at the same
I
time.
thought you said all at once.
Oh, because we've talked about how just like
Yeah.
absurd that is. If it's like, oh, I love my Transformers, my Power Rangers, and my Marvel Legends, and it's like all of them have a $500 HasLab I need to buy before the end of the month.
Yeah.
It's just bad marketing. But anyway, all right. Tell us your thoughts. What do you guys think the HasLab is going to be? What tiers did we forget that should be included? Are you planning on getting it if it's Giant Man? Are you wishing it's a Quinjet because that's what you really want in your collection? Are you really hoping for a Jarvis? Let us know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, stay strong.